I once heard another occultist on a podcast say something like, well, I think that given what I've seen, that, and this is of course paraphrased, people who came from abusive upbringings, I've noticed are the same people who turn to um, black magic, dark magic, sorcery, and demonolatry. And that they were saying, from what they've noticed, the people who are attracted to sorcery tend to be people who were abused in childhood. For myself, seeing that as a sorcerer who was abused in my childhood, I saw that and I thought, well, I don't know if that's true or not, if there just tends to be a connection there. I do know there is for me. I do know for me specifically as a sorcerer that there is, in my specific case, a direct connection between repeated childhood abuse and that driving me to sorcery in my case as an outlet and release and relief from my disabilities, as well as helping me to gain some level of control and stability in my life. And then, or at least internally, mentally, and also physically in some ways too. And then the other person on this podcast, who was another host, I think. I only heard one episode of this podcast either, and I don't even remember what it was called. But this other occultist who I didn't like as much as the first guy, but he said something like, because he's maybe approaching demonolatry from, or not, it wouldn't even be demonolatry in his case, but it would be more demonology, and he would be approaching it from a more ceremonial magician lens of trapping, binding the demons, treating them like your slaves and like you are their master, forcing them to do your bidding, forcing them to do things against their will, and just sort of treating them as tools to a means to an end. And so this occultist had strongly given that impression to me, that he was among these types of magicians who looks down and sort of puts their nose up in the air towards like demonolators and people who approach the demons as equals. And he said something like, well, maybe because they were going to work with demons later in life is why they were abused earlier in life, or something like that. And it was a lot harsher the way he worded it than what I just worded it, but I can't remember exactly what he said. But the essence of it, I remember, was something like, well, because these sorcerers were going to be working with demons and doing dark magic later in life, maybe that's why they had fucked up childhoods, is like the vibe it was giving me. And I saw that and I was just sort of like, okay, that occultist has now destroyed any credibility or any like part of me wanting to take them seriously or wanting to take their work seriously, because they've said that now, which essentially is the same fucking problem I have with a lot of like new age and with a lot of like, well, honestly, with a lot of belief systems in general, is this idea that anyone who was abused in childhood just like deserved that somehow. Like there's any possible fucking justification for the shit that men choose to do to children in this world that people just fucking ignore and then outcast those same children when they're adults. So because we are outcasted by society and by humans, yeah, some of us turn to witchcraft for relief and turn to demons for relief. And in my case, I turned to the demons because they fucking listened. And I didn't have people around me who would listen. And I just wanted someone to fucking see me and acknowledge me and acknowledge what I'd been through and take me fucking seriously. And so I met demons. And at first, I think I did make some mistakes. And at first it was also because of just like my own like PTSD and the crap I was dealing with. There was a period of chaos, because part of it was demons is not any one thing. It's like a whole huge, major, massive umbrella of all these different kinds of entities, including, depending how you look at it, the mental daemons within yourself, or the parts of yourself that can be seen as demons. And for us, as at the time an undiagnosed DID system, our persecutor alters, or the persecutory parts of our brain, myself included back then, had a destructive persecutory role, and we were seen by, at the time, Max as demons because he didn't know what DID is, he wasn't diagnosed yet, and that was the only thing in that we could see in media. That was the only thing we could see that matched what we were experiencing. And because there wasn't anything really to show plurality, Max just believed that we were demons and that he was a demonically possessed wizard. And it kind of does get complicated because even after, being diagnosed with DID, we still practice demonolatry. We still engage with demons. We still engage with the Enochian Watchers, or some of them. Some of the so-called fallen angels are really just the angels who are on the earth, who are among the earth, who chose to love humans. And it is complicated. But essentially, I bring up that podcast because it comes to mind this morning, and I think that, I take my craft fairly seriously, and I try really fucking hard in my life, and to hear another occultist essentially just be like, oh, well, maybe they were abused because they deserved it, is essentially what they're saying with that. Like, oh, well, they turned to demons later, and they're not like me, where I just treat demons like a means to an end, so they're below me. And I just think that's bullcrap and really fucking gross, and I tend to not like people who treat demons that way. And I know there are maybe some occultists where they can look past that or see it in a different way, and I respect that, but also I can't respect if an occultist is literally just treating demons like animals, or treating demons like below people. And that to me is just really gross and heartless, and I'm that it's not okay. And I feel like, as someone who is an acolyte of Samael, that he has taught me how to integrate and balance my inner demons, or daemons, myself included, and has taught me how to be graceful and patient and loving, and how to honor demons. And I feel like I really think that demonolatry can be a beautiful thing, and people shouldn't be so quick to write it off.